So we'll probably, go ahead.
Yeah, question, as you're going on, can you say question number such and such?
Exactly, yes. So I will lead, we're now at question number 2, and starting off will be, so I will lead in that manner, but if you could help me manage this, again, it doesn't make sense the way you're seating, but it does help us for the camera. So to kick us off, question number 1 will be started off with Greg, and then followed by Joe. Question number 2 will be kicked off by Joe, and then again, you have the run of the show in front of you. So if you could help me manage it, that would be great. Kicking off, Rick Bowen will do a welcome, as mentioned, a 2 to 3 minute welcome. I have very little housekeeping, so I will just basically welcome the audience to the forum virtually, and then we're going to get right into the opening statements because we're going to have a hard, fast 150 minutes for the Q&A, and however many questions we get through, or how many questions we get through, and then we'll go to closing statements. Okay? Any questions?
Don't forget to get right on your microphones.
So we all want to be able to answer each question, like it's just going to rotate. This person's going to answer that question.
Correct. So we did not get any specific questions for specific candidates, so all of the questions are for all of the candidates. One last housekeeping. The bathrooms are in the back of the room. So if you find that you have to go, strategically plan it. Have the run of the show, so sneak back, take care of your business, and then come on back. But try to figure out how you can strategically exit and enter. Put your cell phones on silent. Yes, we will. Oh, thank you.
So when I put the other one, the audio was down. So we have to make sure that all. So as long as you're bouncing, you're fine. I'll hear you. Okay, we're good, Rich. We're right back there. Jumping. It's just the red button.
All right, are we ready? What's the deal? Let me know when you're ready to start, so we can turn everything on.
Okay.
Nothing to be
Matt, you have an extra copy of these?
What is that?
You have an extra copy of the lineup?
The run a show. You know what? See if you can steal Rick's.
You got it?
You guys, my last copy.
All right, no worries, you got it.
So I'm gonna trust you guys on your cameras and you're pointing to the right person.
So much. Nobody switch their name tags. I got this. All you're worried about is these two. You're worried about those. I'm worried about these. Yeah. All right. We still got what? Oh, we still got 15 minutes. So,
We're good, we're recording on your web, we're recording on the YouTube.
We said the live stream would be at 6, so if we'll start at 6.
we'll start at 6. A lot of time on the pressure.
Say what?
And we'll start at 6. We'll do that 15 minutes.
My name is Rick Bowen. Welcome to the first Bonita Unified School District Candidate Forum. Thank you to all the candidates for your participation. This forum is sponsored by the Laverne Coalition of Concerned Citizens, aka LV3C. This is the third candidate forum we've sponsored. The first being the City Council Forum, and the second being the Mayoral Forum earlier this year. Based on feedback, LV3C plans to continue these citizen-based forums in the future. The intent of tonight's forum is to either introduce the candidates to or expand their reach to all Laverne and San Dimas residents and voters. Interesting that 2 years ago, exactly this date, October 1, 2018, a small group of about 20 Laverne residents met at the Grace Manor of Lordsburg, hosted by owner Linda Lockhart Wilkinson. We wanted to discuss issues that were important to the residents, but were not being addressed by our city or city management. From that small gathering, in 2 years, as of 5 p.m. tonight, LV3C has grown to 1,415 members. I especially want to thank Hugh Kelly and Pam Berry for their continued administration of the group. As you might imagine, as a group of 1,400 people, this has become a much larger volunteer job than I think anyone ever anticipated. There's also many, many other people to thank, and hopefully they know who they are. I also want to thank Bonita Unified School District for inviting LV3C to use this facility. Special thanks to Superintendent Carl Coles, especially the admin assistant, Margaret McDonald. She did a great job. And also to the Bonita High School principal, Kenny Ritchie. Tonight's forum is filmed by Rich Gill from LV3C. He has graciously donated his time, a lot of it, and all of his equipment. A huge thank you to Rich. Quite frankly, this wouldn't be happening without you. Thank you. Ken Pucci from LV-TV has also offered to assist in live streaming and also posting his video on LV-TV in the near future. If you're watching this live, thank you, Ken, it worked. Posting viewing opportunities, details will be posted on various social media sites after tonight's forum. Over the last few weeks, a small group of volunteers, Kenny Chang, Caroline Laurie, Lily Brainerd, Nikki Diekman, and Stacy Nguyen have worked tirelessly to submit questions for tonight's forum. As you can imagine, with the current COVID restrictions, this has been a huge effort, so thank you to all of them. Tonight's forum is hosted by Matt Lyons, who has again graciously agreed to donate his time and his energy. Matt, thank you in advance, and please proceed.
Well, Rick said it all with the welcome, and again, I want to ditto the welcome to our Laverne and San Dimas residents who are watching us virtually, and live stream thanks to LV-TV. This night is intended to get you better acquainted with all 9 of the candidates. So hopefully at the end of tonight, you've gotten to know the 9 candidates who are all running for the 3 open seats for Bonita Unified School District. So without further ado, I'm going to just get right to the program and start with the opening statements. The opening statement order has been determined by the randomized alphabet drawing of the letters conducted by the Secretary of State's office. And we will start off the opening statements with Brittany Allison, and all of the opening statements will be 2 minutes in length. Brittany?
Thank you. Thank you, LV3C, for hosting, to the community for watching, and to my fellow candidates for participating alongside me. We find ourselves in a challenging time. There's division on political and social questions, and the economy is in the process of being redefined. Our community needs leaders who have the desire, skills, and the experience to facilitate meaningful dialogue, build bridges in the community, and be creative and comprehensive in pursuing our common goals of a strong community, a thriving district, and empowering education for our youth. I am this person. With my nonprofit, who was just awarded the 2020 Nonprofit of the Year Award, I organized programs that brought together stakeholders and community members with differing and oftentimes even opposing views. I've seen the impact of empowering individuals to engage in the tough conversations and form collective solutions. I want to bring that experience and my willingness to listen to this board. I also bring both academic and professional experience in education, and perhaps most importantly, the perspective of a parent. I taught high school for 4 years before having my first child and deciding to stay at home to teach my kids full time. I first started researching Bonita Unified School District to determine if it was the best district for our kids, and I'm going to bring that same passion and commitment and determination to find the best education for my kids that I will for your kids. I know with my whole heart that we can think creatively and collaboratively to take care of this present time as our kids and community are navigating. And then I'm going to continue to stay dedicated to striving for excellence in every aspect of our district for every aspect of our students. My experience as a teacher, parent, community servant, and a creative and critical thinker equip me to serve at this time. Thank you.
Next up, Greg Pilato.
Hi, I'm Greg Pilato, and I'm excited to be here tonight to share why I believe that my voice is very valuable for our Bonita School Board. But first, thank you, Rick, Matt, our camera crew, and the LV3C team for making tonight possible, because our voters in San Dimas and Laverne want and deserve the most qualified board candidates making decisions for their kids for the next 4 years. I've been a practicing school psychologist for the last 20 years in our public schools. I advocate daily for kids who need extra supports or who don't always have the same mold as everyone else. My kids also use these extra supports, and I'm very invested in making sure all our kids have what they need to succeed. The main reason I'm running for school board are for 3 things. First, that every kid that could benefit from mental health support get that service. Second, not everyone's on the same path for success. And I want to make sure that when our kids walk across that graduation stage, we will have prepared them as best we can for their choice, whether it be to go to college, they pursue the arts, they want to serve our nation in the military, or excel in the skilled trade that they're passionate about. And finally, nothing is as important to me as the safety of our kids, and I want to ensure that our students are safe on their campuses. I've been blessed to be endorsed by many groups for my vision, groups like law enforcement, trades, labor. In Laverne, I'm proud to be endorsed by our current and past mayor, and I think I'm the only candidate to have the full support of all the San Dimas City Council and mayor. And the one thing that is interesting is that in these polarizing times, the one thing they do agree on is that I'm the candidate with the experience and training to make sure all our kids get what they need to be successful for themselves. So if you're also passionate about mental health, special ed, the arts and trades, and safety of your students, and want to make sure that training and experience matter when making those decisions, I would ask you for your vote. I'm Greg Pilato. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Joe Otto.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Otto. Thank you to Matt and to Rick and to LB3C for setting this up. This is a great opportunity for us. I live in Laverne with my wife and my 6-year-old daughter Zoe, and I own a plumbing business in San Dimas, so I'm duly invested in this community. A little over 6 years ago, my daughter was born 9 weeks premature at a hospital in Fontana. And at the time, to say that we were lower income is an understatement. We didn't have a dollar to spend. And while Zoe was recovering in the hospital, we decided that no matter what happened, we were going to make sure she has the best education. And what that boiled down to was becoming part of the Bonita Unified School District. We were blessed 2 years ago to move to Laverne, and last year Zoe actually started school at Oak Mesa. Immediately I joined the PTA and was elected as a PTA board member. I joined the school site council and was elected as chairman of the school site council. And I'll never forget it. I came home and I told Zoe what's going on. I was on the council and I was going to start helping out at her school. The next day, she goes up to her principal, Mr. Patterson, and says, "Mr. Patterson, my daddy's going to help you run your school better." It was hilarious, adorable, a little embarrassing, but the fact that she was so proud of her dad and so excited for me to be involved in her education and her district, that was my defining moment, and that is why I am running for the board, because with my experience as a small business owner and my experience dealing with a wild and crazy 6-year-old, I believe that I can really take this board to new heights. Again, my name is Joe Otto, and I hope you'll consider me for one of the 3 votes on November 3rd. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next we have Christopher Madsen.
Hello, my name is Christopher Eric Madsen, and I'd like to thank the LV3C for this event and Matt for moderating. I'd also like to acknowledge that running for this board is a privilege. I'm lucky to have my job, health, and kids doing well. COVID-19 has ended and upended lots of lives and livelihoods. There are numerous reasons to feel overwhelmed, anxious, isolated, and fatigued. And some people are suffering far more than others. For those who are able to watch this, thank you. For those who don't have a chance, my thoughts are with you. If this election wasn't as open as it is, I would not be here. I'm an introvert and my social circles are small. However, I'm running because I want more educational knowledge on our board. And there are 3 spots in this election, 3. And I don't feel slighted at all if I'm the 3rd choice. Education is important to me. I have an MFA in theater, a master's degree in higher ed, plenty of loans, as well as a doctorate degree in higher education. There are some things that are very important to me. First of all, I help people for a living. I'm honest, I'm caring, and I'm fair. If you want someone committed to education, equity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, and consideration, please take your time, find all of our information, and identify 3 people who are most relevantly holding experience, knowledge, and perspectives. Thank you.
Next we have Krista Chakmak.
Good evening. My name is Krista Chakmak. I was appointed to my current board position in May 2020. During these unprecedented times we are experiencing, I chose to join the board and lead from the inside. I have decided to campaign to retain my board position and continue to serve, collaborate with, and lead this community. As a 30-plus year resident of the district, I feel it is my time to give back to our community by applying my drive, passion, and to continue BUSD's legacy of educational excellence. As is so often the case, the curveballs of life have shaped me in powerful ways. In March 2018, my son Levi had his 3rd open heart surgery. I realized soon after we got home that giving Levi the best physical care was only half the battle. We needed to also address the emotional toll of these ongoing medical challenges to help Levi's 5-year-old heart heal, both physically and emotionally. Flash forward 2 years, we also now see the emotional toll our journey has taken on our younger son. The reason I share this is because this journey cemented my belief in the power of schools to foster acceptance and support for the different challenges we all have. In addition, the school board sets and ensures the overall culture of this district. I strongly believe this culture needs to balance student test scores with fostering mental resilience, along with supporting our teachers, staff, students, and parents to achieve this. My focus is the future. I'm a passionate advocate for all children and their future within our district and beyond. I understand the power of community for our children to help them be safer, stronger, and kinder. If our community is unified and stronger, then our children will feel supported, heard, and focused on their education. I'm a community leader who volunteers for my heart, a neighbor who champions inclusion and connection, and a mother who strives for excellence in all that I do. I would appreciate your vote for me, Krista Chakmak, to continue serving.
Thank you. Next we have Glenn Kryman.
My name is Glenn Kryman. I'd like to thank Rick and Matt and LV3C for putting this on tonight. I'm currently the president of the school board for Benita Unified School District, and I've served on the board for 17 years. My family's lived in the district since 1987, and both my children are proud graduates of Benita Unified. I retired from the Los Angeles Fire Department in 2016 with the rank of Captain 2, having served 35 and a half years, primarily in East LA, South Central, and the downtown Skid Row area. I began my involvement with the district as a volunteer when my son entered kindergarten in 1995, was elected to the board 8 years later, and continued to volunteer until my daughter graduated. Along the way, I served as a classroom volunteer, site council member, and chairperson. I was the first male PTA president in Benita Unified, and served on various committees and booster groups, and was a grad night chaperone. I was also honored with the Golden Oak, which is PTA's highest award for service to children. When I was elected to the board, Benita was a good district in the San Gabriel Valley with trust and transparency issues. Today, we are rated in the top 10% of all unified districts in the state, have great relationships with our bargaining units in the cities we serve, and are very transparent in all we do. Along the way, I've always based my decisions on one simple premise. Is this decision the best decision for all our children? In my 25 years of involvement with the district, I built relationships with our staff, our cities and their leadership, local colleges and universities, our communities and businesses. Those relationships, along with my 17 years experience as a member of the board, will enable me to help guide our district through whatever we face now and in the future.
Thank you. Next we have Dr. Afshin Mir.
I would like to thank LV3C for getting this together and giving us a chance to voice our opinion out and get the community aware of who they should vote for. Though I have had the great privilege of calling San Dimas and Laverne home for the last 16 years. It's where I live, it's where I work, and most important of all, it's where my beautiful wife Nina and I have raised our wonderful children, Emma and Aiden, since the day they were born. As a family, we feel a deep sense of devotion to this amazing community and feel extremely blessed and grateful for everything the community has provided our family throughout the years still. I am a health advocate for many years treating students, teachers, and staff in our district. I believe we have to create preventive solutions to our community and getting everyone ready for any crisis as we are dealing with now, instead of masking the problems. Let's treat the cause and create more tools and resources to make our community healthier and stronger. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
I want to say thank you to LB3C and also to Matt for moderating this event. Good evening. My name is Tommy Randall, and I'm running to become a member of the Benita Unified School District Governing Board. And I want to ensure that all of our children get the best education possible so that they will be competitive in this competitive world. My two children graduated from Benita Unified School District and went on to attend and graduate from San Diego State and Azusa Pacific Universities. They have participated in basketball, track and field, softball, and I also have a grandson who will be entering the Benita Unified School District shortly. Let me introduce myself. I graduated from Bishop College in Dallas, Texas with a major in sociology. After college, I served in the U.S. Army for 3 years and was sent to 3 different continents. I have worked in both the private and public sectors, and I have visited 5 different continents and observed the lifestyle of each one. I know the challenges that our children are going to encounter, and I want to make sure that they are prepared to meet and exceed those challenges. I retired from IBM after 25 years and worked for the Department of Commerce, Bureau of the Census in 2000 and 2010. I hired and trained 120 partnership specialists that spoke over 49 different languages. This was a major factor for the Los Angeles region, had the best response rate in its history. I'm also a state parks and recreation commissioner, where I help oversee a budget of $215 billion. I have the experience on how to allocate funds based on rational and logical decision making, which means after consulting with parents, teachers, the superintendent, and other board members, I will make the best decision. I'm looking for your support. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Before I thank the Laverne 3C Foundation and all of you guys for tuning in, I would first like to thank my husband and my daughters for their support and for standing by and for the late nights and all of the work they have helped in this campaign. Campaigning is not easy. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Jones-Bacon, and I am running for a spot on the Bonita Unified School Board. I have lived in Bonita Unified in the city of San Dimas for 5 years and specifically chose to move to this district to raise our daughters and have them go through high school here. I have lived in multiple states as we were a military family previously, and we've had the pleasure to experience so many different states, cultures, school districts, and have even had 8 years in the private school system. We opted to leave the private school system and integrate back into the public school system, and specifically chose Bonita Unified for its long-standing tradition and their success rates. I am a firm believer that working for people and helping people is not something that we do for any type of recognition, for any type of status, or for any type of pay. I have always been somebody who has given and served from my heart because it brings me nothing but joy to help others and assist them. I have chaired on the board of the San Dimas High School PTSA for 2 years, as well as the San Dimas High School Bingo Committee for 3 years, going into my 4th. I am here as a parent, as a mother, as a working mom, to support you guys and to help bring Bonita into the future as a new voice, as a new face who understands and respects their traditions and is ready to help welcome us into the future. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to be transitioning to the Q&A portion of the program. As you can imagine, we got more questions submitted than we have time, so we will try to get through as many questions as possible, but also know that the LV3C did ask all 9 candidates to complete a pre-forum questionnaire. So there are 9 additional questions that were asked of all of the 9 candidates, and that has been made available through social media. If you are not connected to the LV3C group, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. You can email me at mtlyons921@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to email you a link to the 9 questions that were asked and answered by all of the candidates. So those 9 questions are in addition to all of the questions that will be asked tonight. So as we begin, this will be question number 1, and the first to respond will be Greg Pilato. And I'm just going to give some a lead into this question. Distance learning, public health, and returning to in-person school is on the top of minds of all. The district has approximately 1,100 employees that serves 10,000 students and 2 communities. And this question comes from Nicole Grant, who is the president of the Bonita Unified Teachers Association. So we're going to kick off tonight with this question. In this time of COVID-19, with so many differing opinions on what is safe for our schools, where will you turn to make informed decisions on what is best for the families of Bonita Unified? And starting us off on this question will be Greg Pilato with 1:30 seconds.
All right, great question. Just off the bat, no one likes distance learning. We all want to be back in the classrooms. Everyone's struggling. My son's struggling. I'm sure your kids at home are struggling. My wife's a teacher. I see tears from her as well. Frustrations of kids trying to navigate websites, how to submit assignments. It's ridiculous. And we're losing our social skills with each other, that connection with the teacher and student. I would love to have our kids back, but right now, I know we are in a pandemic, and safety is something we gotta be concerned of. I'm trained in education, not disease, so I'm not gonna go into that science. And I'm not someone that's gonna give you a false promise of something I can't do. Because like in the question, it's the Department of County Health that makes those decisions. But what I like to do is I like to get input from the community and our associations to make a plan on how we can bring this back. I would love to start with our special ed because they're the ones that I know struggle the most. But here at Bonita, what I do appreciate is that we're not the first to adopt something. We see other people adopt, we see their mistakes, we see what works, and then we adopt. And once we adopt, we usually do a better job. And personally, I prefer making better educational decisions than fast educational decisions. So when we do come back, and hopefully it'll be soon, we'll do it with agreement with our community stakeholders, and we'll do it in a way we're going to be open for good, and we're going to do it in a way that keeps Bonita strong.
Okay, next we have
Jill Otto. That's a great question, and I always tell my daughter, you can't say the word hate. We don't hate, but I hate this system. I think we all do, right? Nobody's happy. Our teachers are killing themselves. The staffs are working so hard to make this work. Our kids are struggling. My daughter, again, she's not the kind of kid that does well without, constant interaction. So it's hard on everybody. The fact is, the board has to follow the mandate from the county and so on and so forth. So we need to start working on plans now to open back up when it's safe to do so. And one thing I think that we can do as a board while we wait for the county to give us that green light is to pull the teachers, to pull the parents, and to pull the community. We need to ask the teachers, do you feel comfortable? What would make you feel comfortable coming back to the classroom? We need to ask the parents the same questions. What do you need to feel safe to send your kids back? And we need to ask the community as a whole those same questions as well. So when we do get the green light from the community, we're ready to go and we're not just kind of reacting. We have a plan in place and we're ready to get everything going again. It's hard on all of us, and we have to understand that, we're neighbors, we're a community, and we all are working towards the same goal, and that is getting our kids back in school. Like Greg said, I'm not going to promise that if you elect me, I'm going to put our kids back in school tomorrow, because it's a lie. We have to follow what's mandated by the county, but we can get prepared for when that time does come. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Christopher Eric Madsen.
First of all, we want to help make sure everyone stays connected, literally and metaphorically. The connections that we have, even if it's online, are still very important. Next, we need to work together to make sure everyone feels informed, supported, and valued, because much of what we have going on right now is not in our control. We have the state health guidelines and standards, we have the county state guidelines and standards, and then we have our own capability within the district. And then once it gets to the district can then decide what is possible, what is probable, what then can we communicate with the teachers and find out what teachers support. Some classes might be online, some classes might stay and go partially hybrid, etc. Then there's certain populations that we're already starting to get back on campus. So it's just a variation of figuring out how things go down the pipeline so we can keep everyone informed, keep everyone feeling supported, and keep everyone feeling valued. So that way, when we eventually get to where we can open things more, we have a plan that we can stick with and agree with. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Krista Chapman.
I'm going to ask that you please repeat the question.
Sure. In this time of COVID-19, With so many differing opinions on what is safe for our schools, where will you turn to make informed decisions on what is best for the families of Bonita Unified?
I would say that during these times we have very strict state guidelines and CDC guidelines that our district will need to follow to ensure the safety of all of our staff and children. And I believe that we need to communicate using surveys to keep the interest of the parents and the children and our teachers up front. I'd like to hear feedback from them, and I would use those surveys to make sure that we are providing options for our families in the best, safest way possible. Thank you.
Okay, we next have Glenn Kryman.
The district's planning for all contingencies when school reopens right now. Districts, hybrid, full reopen, or any combination. But no matter what we vote, we can't reopen until the state and county says we can go. And even at that, it's not a light switch. It's going to probably take roughly 28 days to even get close to opening. Last week, the Board of Supervisors ordered the County Health Department to begin accepting waivers, which works out to 30 schools per week, 6 per supervisory district. And those are prioritized by the free and reduced lunch numbers for TK through 2nd grade. It'll be a long time before they get to us with our numbers. We are right now working on opening the English language learners and students with the IEPs and small pods, a max of 14. That should be coming. But even if we apply for a waiver, part of the process is we need to have buy-in from our staff and community. So we have to get responses from our communities, and we have to get buy-in from the staff. We don't want to put them back in a bad situation. And everyone agrees we need in-person learning, but it has to be done correctly, so once we reopen, we don't get shut down again and have to start all over again.
Okay, next we have Dr. Afshin Mayer.
Schools can reopen safely, in course, with low rates of the COVID, though. What we are pretty much dealing with right now is that there's so much legislations, there's so much as far as what's coming from the health department and the mandate, the regulations that we have to follow. But I would like to ask board to be more communicative with the parents though. We had a survey out about a couple at the beginning of this crisis. I would like to communicate more with the parents and ask their feedback. Same way with the staff though. We have to communicate, see who's available. Do we have a plan? Are we ready to be open? We have done a great job so far with the school age, and I think the priority at this point has to be special ed. It has to be K-5, like elementary school. Those are the ones who are suffering the most, and we have to make the best out of the situation at this point. But we have to evaluate all aspects, but we got to have a plan and communication with parents and staff, importantly. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
Thank you very much. First of all, we have to listen to the scientists and the doctors. When they say that it's ready, and I know that there are mandates by the state and the county, but when they say that it's safe for our children to go back to school, that's when I would feel comfortable that it's safe for our children to go back to school. There will be some school children and some parents who want, for whatever their reasons might be work, or might be a medical condition, that they would want their children back in school. I can understand that. However, what I would like to do is poll the students and poll the teachers to see who would like to volunteer and go back into the classroom. And based on that, we can get those students back into the classroom. However, the ones that feel that they are not ready or it is not safe, I would say they continue with the hybrid learning. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
I really like this question, and I would like to explain why. As an insurance professional, if you were to ask me the cause of the mold growing on this roof or how long it's been there, I would be able to tell you that, because that's what I'm trained in. But I am not a doctor, and I am not in charge of the CDC. And in the situation that we find ourselves in, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I cannot lie and say that I stand here as a parent of a 2021 senior who every day I have to have a conversation with her to check in and see how she's doing. However, putting her back into school tomorrow and running that risk, I work in risk for a living, and the dice that we are rolling are the lives of our children, the lives of our neighbors who are teachers, the lives of our administrators. And me as a mother and as a community member, I'm not willing to roll that dice, even if the percentage is the lowest it could possibly be, and it's one person. One person in our community, in any community, is too many. And I feel that when the scientific community and the doctors and our government in our state and CDC and LA County have cleared us to return to school, I think that the board should embrace that and plan for every contingency from there.
Thank you. Now we have Brittany Allison.
Certainly, we're operating within the law. We don't have options there, but I will be tenacious about seeking what options we do have, right? When we're talking about sports having the accessibility of being able to open up, can we open up safe extracurriculars? Can we host art class outside? Can we have drama games outside? What can we do to make sure we're still reaching our common goal of providing excellent education, making sure that we're being proactive about our students' mental wellness, and make sure that we're also guiding their student development and socialization. Since this shutdown, I myself has co-organized 2 mental wellness programs for local women. I hosted a pandemic parenting virtual event in order for our parents to come together. This is the same type of programming that I would want to bring and suggest our school district do. How can we bring our students to meet that goal of mental wellness, meet that goal of socialization, but still operate within the law? As has been mentioned, we have options that we can pursue, and we can watch how it's operating in other districts to make sure that we're doing so safely. But a lot can be done safely, and I would be dedicated to doing so.
Okay, thank you, candidates. And just a reminder, if as you respond to the questions, if I can get you to be as close to the mic as possible, just so that the viewers at home can hear you. So we're going to question number 2. This will be led off by Joe Otto. And this is going to be our first rapid response question. So candidates, you have 30 seconds to respond. And if you can answer with a yes or no, our organizing committee would be very thankful, because it allows us to get to as many questions as possible. But if not, you have 30 seconds to respond. And so this first rapid response question is, when a COVID vaccine becomes available, would you be supportive of a mandatory vaccine requirement for students before returning to in-person classes? And again, this starts with Joe.
No, only because I would want for my daughter and for our district to make sure that it's safe. So if it's proven to be safe and it's gone across all the required testings from the CDC and all the other different doctors, then I would consider it, but it would have to have run the labs and have been proven to be completely safe before we made that required. Once that was done, then it'd be similar to a flu shot, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
Okay, this is a good question. First of all, when it comes to when we might have a vaccine for everyone, it might be
April or so. Okay, I guess it might be April or so by the time we have a vaccine for everyone. And most importantly, since this is a quick answer, I leave it to the hands of the parents. Because it's going to be that late by the time we have a vaccine, parents should have an opportunity to decide whether their kids go back to school then or continue and finish the year.
Okay. Next we have Krista Chakmak.
No parental choice.
Thank you. Glenn Kryman.
No, right now I don't think we have enough information to make an informed decision, but I lean toward not making it mandatory.
All right, next we have Dr. Afshin Mayer.
No, as well. I'm against mandating vaccine for COVID-19, and also it has to be a parent consent and control to make that choice.
Thank you. We have Tommy Lee Randall.
Well, everyone nailed that one. I say no, also it should be left up to the parents.
Crystal Jones-Bacon.
Nice to see that we're almost all in agreement. There's only one left. I may note to that as well. I do believe in parental choice when it comes to the vaccine, especially a new one.
And we have Brittany Allison.
No, I would leave that to the parents right now, for sure.
Thank you. And last, we have Greg Pilato on this question.
No, I wouldn't push for that either. It's readily available. To me, that's sufficient. I'd be scared to give my kid the first batch. So no, I believe every parent should have their own voice and what's best for their own family.
Thank you so much for making that rapid response question happen perfectly. So we're going to go to question number 3. And this is going to be started off by Christopher Eric Madsen. Now this question, for the benefit of audience members that may not be familiar with this issue, I'm going to be providing some background information on this question. And this question has to do with the California Healthy Youth Act, or Assembly Bill 329. And so for the benefit of the audience members and maybe some of the candidates who are not familiar with this issue or this matter, the purpose of the California Healthy Youth Act is to provide every student with the knowledge and skills necessary to protect their sexual and reproductive health from unintended pregnancy, HIV, and sexually transmitted infections. AB 329 is California state law that requires that comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention education be provided to students at least once in middle school and once in high school, starting in grade 7. So with that background, Christopher, you're going to answer this question first. Bonita Unified School District has implemented the California Healthy Youth Act, or AB 329. First, have you reviewed the curriculum adopted by Bonita Unified? And what is your opinion of the curriculum? And going forward, how could the district provide additional transparency and access to the complete curriculum?
Minute and a half, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I have a 5th grader and a freshman. And where I have not had a chance to review it, and if I have not had a chance to review it, then I'm guessing it has not been made as easy to find, because I stay pretty up to date on my kids' information. So I'm not sure if it's because it came out after my freshman already went through it or not, but I think every parent should have a chance to review the information and have a chance to talk about it with their child first. I'm a big believer in having age-appropriate information available to parents for parents to review and look over and share with their kids, whether it's them of age or not quite of age. It's up to the parents. However, when it gets to the age where everyone learns it, I still think it's important for parents and guardians to have a chance to go through the material and have a chance to talk with their children first.
Okay, next we have Krista Chakmak.
I have reviewed parts of AB 329, or the curriculum for our school district. I don't think that my opinion matters on if it's okay for my children or not, or if it's okay for yours. I think that every parent needs to take the opportunity to view the curriculum and make their own choice in their own home. I would like to say that I'd encourage every parent with a child entering 7th and 9th grade to make an appointment at the district office to view the curriculum and make an educated decision for your family. An opt-out form must be submitted to the district office. I would like to work with the board and superintendent going forward to figure out how we as a district can supply an opt-out form to each parent prior to the curriculum starting. I absolutely think that we need to make sure that the parents view this curriculum. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Glenn Kryman.
Yes, I have reviewed the curriculum. Your basic curriculum fills a binder over 2 inches thick. And what it does do is allow local districts to decide what we're going to teach. And there are many sections that a large number of people find inappropriate for the grade levels, and each district can be responsive to their community needs and what is acceptable. We've limited it to once in middle school, once in high school. The whole curriculum starts in kindergarten and runs through 12th grade. I think the important thing is that every parent has the option to opt their student out of either the entire curriculum or any section of the course without any negative consequences for their children.
Okay, next we have Dr. Afshin Mayer.
I have reviewed this AB 329, and I was actually contacted by one of the parents that is concerned about this. And I've been through some of the concerns that she had, and I will pretty much request and ask every parent to read through the details of what is being offered though. And as far as our district now offering it from 7th to 9th, and I definitely will not support this for K to 6, and I would like to have parents' options as far as you choose to follow through or you choose to opt out. That has to be clear. The message from the board has to be pretty much this information has to be presented to the parents, and the options to opt out or opt in as well. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
I'm very familiar with AB 329. I have read it and I have discussed it with some of the people in my community. And these parents have children that are going to be going to school. And what they are telling me is that, first of all, they would like to talk to their children first. And then once they talk to their children, they should know the maturity as to whether or not it should be taught to them in school. So the parents has the opportunity to talk to their children to find out if they feel that their children is mature enough to handle this particular situation. And if they do, then they can put them into the curriculum. If not, they can opt out.
Okay, next we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
Well, I have not actually reviewed the curriculum with the district. I did have a chance to meet and go over a lot of what is discussed in the curriculum and what AB 329 entails. And I fully believe that it is parental choice to have this, to opt out of this curriculum. However, I do also understand that this type of curriculum opens up communication lines that a lot of times are not there. As a parent of teenagers, there is a lot of that communication from parents to their students that is missing. And I think that having this curriculum and having the opportunity and having a school say or a district say, hey, this is what is on the curriculum to be taught. Of course, it is your choice, whether you opt your child out of it or not. However, this is what the communication that's going to be there. I think that it is something that is beneficial to our youth. Beyond that, I do think that this is something that the district should look into, having a class where they teach this curriculum to parents. I have an incoming freshman this year, she's a freshman now, and I think that this would have been something very beneficial at freshman orientation or at freshman night, so that I can sit through the class, see who will be teaching it, and then from an educated stance decide if it's right for my child.
Thank you. Next we have Brittany Ellison.
Would you please repeat the second part of the question?
Absolutely. So the question stands, Benita Unified School District has implemented the California Healthy Youth Act. Have you reviewed the curriculum adopted by Benita Unified? What is your opinion of the curriculum? And going forward, how could the district provide additional transparency and access to the complete curriculum?
I've reviewed portions of it, and I think the number one goal in curriculum is starting that conversation at home also. So I love the idea of providing more transparency, whether it's through a class, whether it's through an online workshop, whether it's through actually a seminar. I think that valuing parents being empowered to engage and come alongside their students in this education is the way that curriculum actually matters, right? Because now students are being educated not just in the hours of the day that they're at school, but we have this continued thread through their life. So I think that the value of the curriculum is in starting that conversation at home that may not be started otherwise, and that parents have the choice to opt out. I am glad they have the choice, and I would continue to stand by that choice. Because what matters most to me is that that conversation is happening between the teachers, the district, the parents, and then the parents and their students.
Next we have Greg Pilato.
All right, I have reviewed the curriculum. I reviewed the elementary, middle, and high school curriculum. I even know about the ancillary websites that are out there, and I completely understand why a lot of families are very bothered by the content. I would be in that same group. I have a very immature kid who's going to be in 7th grade next year, and I can't imagine this. I see this going way over his head. But everyone needs to feel comfortable in our schools, and that's going to be one of my main priorities. No matter where you fall on this, everyone should be feeling comfortable sending your kids to our schools. For the additional transparency and access, this is such a sensitive topic in our community. I want to make sure that curriculum is available for every parent to check out. Some of the stuff in there, if you don't know what it is, I encourage everyone to take a look. For access, for opting out, I would love that the district could make our own form letter that the parent just has to sign, can send home on day one with the registration, with your planner. So that way it's not hard, because a lot of parents say they have difficulty even knowing that they have to opt out. So I want to make sure this process is very comfortable for them. So I'll be your candidate if you want to make sure that you're going to be informed of your rights and respecting parent choice. That's who I am and who I am. Thank you.
Okay, and last on this question is Joe Otto.
Okay, so yes, I have viewed the curriculum, and if there's one topic I get asked more about than anything, it's going to be AB 329. There's a very passionate, wonderful mom group on Facebook, and I think just about all of them have reached out to me at one time or another, and I have a first grader, so this is new to me. I didn't really know too much about it, and they were able to bring a lot of the issues to my attention. Number one, first and foremost, the opt-in process has to be there, and I know it is now, but the thing that I've heard from multiple parents is it's difficult. It shouldn't be difficult, and while I don't, since I'm not a board member yet, I don't understand all the rules that go in place with implementing a change like this, but in my opinion, we should be able to make this opt-in process as simple as checking a box. Goes home, like Greg had said, with the curriculum, and it should be that simple. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. The other thing that I hear a lot of issues with is parents are concerned that we're going to start teaching this to their kindergartners, their first graders, second graders. So I can unequivocally say I will not support that, not a chance. So I support having an easier opt-in process, and parents should have the chance to use curriculum too, and we need to make that process as simple as possible. It doesn't have to be a difficult process, and if I'm elected to the board, I'm going to make sure it is as easy as possible to view the curriculum and to opt in and out. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to transition to question number 4, and kicking off this question will be Krista Chakmak. The question is, and we're changing topics here. This topic will be special education. What do you think is the greatest challenge for Bonita Unified regarding special education, and what would you do to overcome those challenges?
Okay, this is interesting. I guess we're going current, post-COVID, or during COVID, pre-COVID? Any?
You know what, this question didn't specify, so go with whatever period you like.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with our current period during COVID and navigating special ed during this time. I think the biggest challenge with special ed currently would be not having them in a classroom, having in-person learning. So getting the waivers in to make that happen is important, and safely navigating that situation for the teachers and our special ed is priority. But I believe that is the most critical issue with our special ed right now. Thank you.
Next we have Glenn Kryman.
Well, we are already lining up opening special ed. We've been allowed pods of 14. They're working with the teachers and getting ready to make it happen, along with the English language learners. We have made available services for them with the online process we have right now. I think our regular, when we're full open, we have one of the best special ed programs in the state. Right now, everybody's struggling with it because these are the kids that have the biggest problems doing the online learning. But we're doing the best we can. We're making available what we can. And as soon as we can open, we'll have those back. It has been a little challenge in some of the other districts around us that when they've applied for their waivers and granted them, a large number of the parents have said, yes, they're coming back. And it's gone from somewhere in the 50% willing to come back to special ed down to 15. So it's a selling job. While they want to come back now, and they say that, when you offer it to them, you have to make sure that you can convince them it's going to be safe for their students and for them.
Thank you. Now we have Dr. Afshin Mayer.
To tag along with what Glenn said right now is that this is where we have to communicate from the board to the parents still. That's in the district though. That's where we have to have these surveys for this special ed students and contact their parents and get their feedback, because I'm talking to them on a daily basis and they're suffering. They can't. They can't do online training though. That's why they are special ed. That's why they need further assistance. And that's where I think as a board and as a district, we have to have this service, this communication with the parents to see who wants to come back though. And with the whatever guidelines and everything else is, to put that as a priority because they're the ones who are hurting the most right now.
Okay, next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
First of all, I think that we need to make sure that everyone knows that education is just as important to us and to our special needs children as any other child. We have to make sure that we have adequate equipment and friendly facilities to accommodate their special needs. We have to make sure that their teachers are qualified and prepared to give them the attention necessary for a well-rounded quality education. And we have to make sure that we're cognizant of the fact and meet their needs and provide special needs children without any exceptions whatsoever. They should have the same opportunities that any other child in the school has. And we want to make sure that we give them that education. And if I'm elected to be on the Bonita Unified School District Governing Board, I will make sure that that does happen. Thank you.
Okay, Crystal Jones-Bacon.
While I'm not a special ed parent, I do have a good friend who has a daughter who has gone through special ed in Bonita Unified and through the high school, and I have heard nothing but wonderful things about the special ed program here. In these times that we find ourselves in now, innovation is crucial. And it's not just innovation in how can we teach a child via distance education or via a computer or a screen. We need to innovate and think, how can we support parents as well? Because parents are not teachers. Parents are not special ed teachers who are taught and trained to teach. They're parents. And I'm not saying that parents can't teach or that they're not teachers, but when it comes to the formal education that children are receiving at school, how can we support parents to better support their students at home and support the teachers? My husband worked for years as a one-on-one in high schools, and we heard so many stories, and we've had discussions about, I wonder how so-and-so is doing right now. They didn't like the screens, they didn't like this or that, and I really think that there needs to be a lot of communication and innovation so that our special ed teachers are ready to go to school, and they're prepared, and they feel safe, and they feel comfortable when they go back, but also that we are supporting our parents and helping them to give our students who need the extra attention and the extra support what they need while they're at home.
Okay, we have Brittany Allison.
Thank you. Yeah, certainly we have unique challenges for the neurodivergent population in these times of remote learning and as we transition to pod instruction. So I would say that not necessarily the greatest challenge, but one of the greatest opportunities that we have is to increase collaboration between the special ed support staff amongst sites. Through this campaign, one of my favorite parts has been talking to teachers, a number of which who serve the neurodivergent population, and they agreed that this would probably be a good idea. Let's share and collaborate. What are best practices? What's working, especially in these unique times? I also think there's an opportunity to explore a partnership with the University of Laverne's La Fetcher College of Education, because they are doing incredible things with neurodivergent research, training, and they are just down the street. And I, as a board member, would love to see how we could utilize that partnership for the betterment of our district and our students.
Okay, next we have Greg Pilato.
So this problem of special ed virtually is not just us, that's statewide. Kids across the state, my own son has ADHD and a 504. We have kids with autism or visual processing that they just can't learn on the screen, but that's going to be the easy answer. In Bonita, we do really great with our typical kids, but personally, from what I know of students and families, we can do a lot better with our special ed. Not everyone feels heard, not everyone feels that they're the same first-class citizen with their special ed as everyone else. I work next door in Cherry Oak, and we get a lot of kids transferring over there because of this. Our service providers and our special ed teachers are amazing. I know many of them personally, but I know families don't always feel heard, and they don't always feel supported. I believe that communication is the first step, making sure we're talking about that student and not just that amount of dollars that we spend on kids. So personally, I think we have a lot of room to grow, and I feel I can help with that, make that bridge, because I'm in that same community with my own student and with all other families that are in the same boat. So we do a lot of great things here in Bonita, and we have great people, but I think we can make better relationships with our families to make them feel more inclusive.
Thank you. Next we have Joe Otto.
I have zero doubts as a district that we don't genuinely care and try to take care of our kids with special needs. There's no doubt in my mind, and everybody makes it a priority without a doubt. I have a niece in the district who is special needs, and I know prior to COVID she was having some issues with different things, but the question I pose to all of us, and to us as a district, to the board, and myself as a board member, what if the majority of the kids in our district were special needs? Would we be acting any differently? Would we be implementing any different types of strategies? And the reason I bring that up is because my sister-in-law who lives with us, she works for a private center that works with special needs children. And I hear her, because she does telehealth all the time, sometimes she goes to homes, but with COVID it's mostly screen. screen-based, and these kids are on the autism spectrum, different severities, and I hear her in the background working with these kids and motivating these kids and making such amazing progress. And the company she works with, that's all they do all day long, is they focus on how can we enrich these children's lives. I know as a district we are trying, but I think we could do better, and I think that we have to ask that hard question. What would we do as a district if the numbers were turned? Would we be able to support those children equally to the other children? And I think it's a question we should all be asking ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, and last on this question is Christopher Eric Matson.
I think we need to remind ourselves of the purpose of our schools. The purpose is to help our students learn and develop skills, to help our students prepare for life after school, and to help our students become better citizens. And that's the same purpose for all of our students, especially special education. We cannot overlook these students. First of all, their needs are different. So it's not like we do this and it helps the entire population. They have their own individualized plans. So during this complicated time, we need to treat them as individuals and work with their parents to make sure that we are letting them know what we can offer them, find out what they're comfortable with, and find that middle ground so we can continue to help their student develop skills that will help them during and after school, as well as become better citizens along the way.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Now we're transitioning to question number 5. This will be started off by Glenn Kryman. And the question is as follows. Beyond standardized test scores and comparisons with other in-state schools and districts, what qualifies a school district to be best in class?
Well, I think one of the things are your people. If you have good people that are well-led, that are happy where they're working, you're going to have a good district. And it's a complete picture. It's not just the test scores. It's just not academics. It's what other programs do you offer. Bonita offers, I think here at Bonita High School, there's 50-some clubs. Similar number at San Dimas. We offer a wide variety of opportunities. We have, through all the times, never cut our arts and music program across the district level. We have choirs that go to Carnegie Hall and perform. We have sports teams in a wide variety of sports. There are CIF champions, state champions, and national champions. So I think you put the whole picture together. It's the whole student, the whole community. We offer a wide variety of programs, not just academic. We have CTE programs in many different categories too. So I think you have to look at the big picture. Are you responsive to your community? Are you meeting their needs? And are you meeting your students' needs?
Thank you. Next we have Dr. Afshin Mayer.
I think the biggest asset that we have in our community is our children and the students, though. And that's why we're all here, because we care, though. And so far, our district, as far as academic, is standing awesome, though. We have about 96% of graduation. I'm involved with a lot of athletes in this district, treating them in my office. So we do a fantastic job with the sports still. And as far as curriculum, and I would say the best that we can do at this point is to get the students more through more hands-on experience. Though I have students that they come to my office doing internship in high school through high school. It's important for them before they make decisions to experience what they think they want to be though. And these opportunities that we provide in our district really stands out and helps our students to choose better future though. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
Yes. I think that it would be great to have happy students with activities that they enjoy, regardless of the sports, the arts or whatever, but happy students. Also, happy and satisfied parents with the education that their students are enjoying. Also, we need to make sure not only are the parents and the students happy, but we want our teachers to be happy and satisfied with the job that they are doing. Because if everyone is happy with the job that is being done, and the kids are happy with the education that they are receiving, and the parents are happy with the education that they are receiving, then you have a positive school district, which is what we're striving for. Thank you.
Okay, Crystal Jones-Bacon.
I think outside of test scores and graduation rates, what makes a school district best in class comes down to a happiness factor. It's not just sending our children to schools and ensuring that we have, 15 sports, 16 sports, and we have CIF and state level grades. I think that you have to also cater to and ensure that we have students who don't fit the molds. It's not just about the highest performing athletes or the highest performing educational students or the lowest performing educational students. We need to ensure that there is space for everybody in this school, and that when they leave this district and they leave their schools, they leave them happy. I would say that the best in class would be a student who leaves this district, decides to join the military, leave this state, go to college somewhere else, but ultimately decides to come back to this district to raise their children, because that is a true testament of their experiences growing through this district and knowing that they want their children to grow here as well.
Okay, next we have Brittany Allison.
The two questions that I would want to ask are, first, what community are you cultivating on campus, and is it serving every aspect of every student? This makes me consider things like holistic wellness, student engagement, identity construction, and self-empowerment. This funnels into the question of, are we preparing students to go on and be engaged contributors to their community? It's fantastic to look at Bonita Unified graduation rates and the rates at which they go to college, but it raises questions to look at the percentage of which those students actually complete their college degree. This makes me think we need to expand our trade options, not just as options, but as elevated and appreciated options of contributing to your society. My dream would be that we would cultivate such a community on our campus that we're modeling the network and engagement that we wish to see in our community as well. And that means that students are willing to speak up, be engaged, be partners in their education on campus. Those are the same students that are going to speak up, be engaged, and be partners in their future community. And I would certainly echo Crystal in that I would think it's fantastic that they come back and that community also be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Greg Pilato.
So what qualifies the districts to be best? Yes, we do have the really good standardized scores. Some things we're doing really great, some things we can work on. For me, culture in the workplace is big. I know Bonita was top workplace last year. I work in Charter Oak, and some teachers I know moved to Bonita, and they call this place the promised land. So that shows me the culture is big, and that's a big thing. So happy teachers are in a good spot, and they teach the best, and the kids feed off that. I want our students to be connected. I think that will make us best in class. I know from the last LCAP, 40% of our kids in secondary were rated as having concerns within the last year of being helpless or depressed. I think that, this was before COVID. I think that connectedness, if they get the service, they're happier kids, they'll be more successful. Like I talked about before, trades are a big thing with me. I think success after graduation is what's going to make us key. Like we heard before, over 70% of our kids do graduate and go to college, but within 6 years, less than 40% of those kids actually get a degree. So to me, yes, we could get them to the graduation stage, but I really want to make sure they're prepared for the whole life, not just to make our graduation rates look good. So to me, I want the kids to be connected. If they want to do the military, if they want trades, if they do want to go to college, and we prepare them to be successful in whatever they choose.
Thank you. Next, we have Joe Otto.
So I think it's important that we tailor education to the student. So there's some kids who are bound for college, and test scores are often an indicator of that. Me, I was a terrible student. I was really, really good at taking tests. I ended up going to college. I had a few different positions. I worked corporate jobs, and then I quit and I opened a plumbing company. I became a tradesman. I became a contractor, and for me, I've never been happier in my life. Now, my story doesn't fit the mold for all students, just like all students aren't necessarily destined to college. I think as a district, if we're going to be best in class, we have to foster each student individually. Maybe this student could succeed in college or a trade. Are we giving them both options? Maybe this student really is going to be best fit for college, and vice versa. But are we giving them the option, while they're going through the school system, and are we telling them that it's still a good option? So when I went to school, you went to college or you weren't successful. That was a lesson that was drilled into my mind. And it's sad because there's a lot of other options outside of college that we need to make those as exciting. I think Berkeley hit it on the head. We need to make those options seem glorified just like we do with college. And we need to take the time to basically push our kids in the direction that's going to support their needs the most. And that's something I think we really need to put a big focus on.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
Okay, two thoughts that come to my mind are, first of all, are we preparing students to face the challenges we faced, or are we encouraging them to face the challenges they're going to face? And second of all, some of the others have mentioned culture. Culture is very important in terms of particularly recent research in neuroscience has looked at teenagers and how their teenage years and their development is linked to deeper dispositions of the mind, particularly reflection, curiosity, compassion, all lead to those deeper thinking, deeper understanding and awareness. And I believe that a culture of the 4 C's, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, as well as a 5th C, consideration, not only will help our students with that culture component, but also prepare them for the challenges they are going to face in their future, not our past.
Thank you. And last on this question is Krista Chakmak.
I believe a true sign of excellence as a district is balance. Our teachers, our classified employees, our children, can they answer the following questions with yes? Are they happy? Are they feeling supported? Are they feeling heard? Are they fulfilled? Are we preparing our children to be successful, active community members? When we can answer yes to all of that, I believe that we have truly succeeded in being an excellent district.
Thank you. Now we're going to transition to question number 6. Leading us off on this response is Dr. Mayer. This one requires a little bit of background information, so if you could all just try to pay attention because you may be the last one to answer this question. So the background on this topic is community-centered schools. And the background on this is LA Unified School District is the 2nd largest school district in the county with nearly 700,000 students. LA Unified is expanding community-centered education model that puts the schools at the center of the community and also provides connections for health and wellness. Schools become a one-stop shop for services and programs that students can utilize. So the question for Dr. Mayer, here at Bonita Unified, we recently expanded and improved on our district-wide mental health staffing, program, and services. Would you be in favor of community-centered high schools with expanded well-being centers that provide sexual and physical health services, and when it comes to advocating for the whole child, how do you personally balance being an advocate for the child and supporting parental rights.
Do I have to go first? All right, that's a lot of information. So I guess I'm gonna kind of revise the kind of review that. Am I in favor of the health services one-stop shop that pretty much has option for sexual and physical services as well as mental? Is that the question?
Correct. We've expanded our mental health. And so, first question, would you be in favor of community-centered high schools with expanded well-being centers that provide sexual and physical health services as well?
It all depends. If there's direct parental consent for these students to attend this community's health center, though, because I believe parents should be informed and pretty much aware of their kids' needs and helps, though. And I'm reading more that there's options after kids are 12-year-old that, there's no pretty much authority for parents to pursue and have any control on this.
Time's up. Next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
I would be in favor of this if we talk to the parents and the parents are in favor of it. There has to be an alternative for, I guess, a community center school, and the alternative would be if the parent would like to send their child to this particular type of an institution. Well, maybe I shouldn't say an institution, I'm sorry, but this type of a school, that would be fine if they volunteer to do it. However, if they do not volunteer to do it, I would say that we should keep and implement the process that we have presently.
Next we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
Well, I understand the theory and the needs for a school and a community-based school like this being offered in areas, especially like LA Unified. I understand the need, and I can see where this would be very beneficial for a lot of students who may not have those actual services. However, I don't know that I could fully support Bonita Unified implementing a high school with the full amount of services. I could envision and see in the event, that this was something that became no choice of our district. I would like to see and would vote for something where we would offer mental health and certain things that would benefit all students, but I would love to see more parent choice and involvement in that, whether it's, a signature of what your student has access to or does not have access to. But when it comes to the sexual reproductive rights and things of that sort, I would not support those being in Bonita Unified School District.
Thank you. We have Brittany Allison.
So at first when you started talking about networking and community engagement, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. But I'm going to need a lot more information before I say yes, that's something that I would be for. And I think not only would board members need more information, but parents would be involved in the construction of what that would even look like in our community. I think the really important question is how you balance advocating for the child and parents' choice, and it's getting them all very closely and transparently involved with each other. I think when we engage parents, we've heard so much mention of barriers that currently exist to parents being fully engaged in their education, and I think those are barriers that should be broken. And once parents come into this circle of their students' education in a engaged and empowered way, and the student is also elevated as an equal partner responsible for their education and their development, I mean, that's how you get that synergy that produces a really rich education and the provision of those services. I mean, talk to me about expanding mental wellness programming in the school all day long. I am for it. I am excited to see what the expansion that we've invested in, what outcomes we get out of that, what proactive programming we get out of that. But we certainly need to engage our parents before we were to do anything like this.
Okay, next we have Greg Pilato.
So we are LA County, but we're not LAUSD. We have different needs, different values here, and that needs to be taken into consideration. I know our district really did a big investment in our mental health. We hired 8 people, and we can do more. So I really want to build up our own services here. I think it's better when a community has input, not when an outside agency guides them. We don't know what these things are. We can sign a contract, and next thing we know, it's a group that parents are really, anti-against, but then we're stuck with them for the whole year. I'd rather hire our own people will be more invested in our kids. They won't be an outside group. We hired our own 8 mental health specialists. I hope we could bring that to 10 based on our needs, and even probably more after all this COVID concern. But those people are invested in our schools and with our kids. They're our own people, and I feel if we invest in our own people and make our own programs based on the needs that we have as Bonita, we'll be a much stronger district.
Okay, next we have Joe Otto.
So this one's easy for me. When it comes to having the community-based mental health help at the schools, by all means, heck yeah. We should be fostering that, we should be encouraging that. Beyond that, having the different sexual options, that should not be part of the school, and that should be a parent's consent no matter what. So if the district wants to fund that, or LA County wants to fund that, they can fund a weekend program, but that should not be on campus. We can't ask our parents to opt in and out of the sex ed education and then also go and say, hey, you opt out of sex ed, but your kids can go pick up condoms in between classes. It shouldn't be that way. The parents need to be more involved, and the parents need to have those conversations with their kids. Now, can we foster a safer environment for our kids? By all means. Let's make this a weekend program. All that funding we put, all week long for this program on campus, we do a weekend program where parents and students can make appointments together, and they can go through this process together without having all this back and forth. It's kind of like a trail mix. I really don't like raisins, but I love trail mix. We can have the trail mix without the raisins. We can have the mental health and the other services without the other options that I think would really just muddy the waters for our kids.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
Quite interesting. I was actually watching a webinar earlier today where LAUSD and the USC researchers that helped look at their community-centered schools were talking about what they found and how they've recently decided to shift some of the accountability, because the accountability was, well, the people with the most authority had the least accountability, and yeah, that all seemed good, but when it comes to this question, I think it's really just a false comparison. We're comparing LAUSD to Bonita Unified for something like this. I don't think it really works. I'm in favor of looking at what we can and should provide for mental health and what have you, but I think that's a matter of us deciding, not following a larger district model.
Thank you. Now we have Krista Chapman.
No, I would not be in favor of expanding into a community-centered program. I believe that the mental health services in our district, that was a decision made by the district, not by state or a different entity deciding it for us. I would absolutely not support any additional decisions made outside of our district. Our schools should be focused on educating our children, period.
Thank you. And last to answer this question is Glenn Kryman.
Well, as an LA Unified grad, and having worked for 35 and a half years in LA, in areas like East Los Angeles, South Central, I've seen these type of schools and the programs in them, and it's not for our district. I'm all for providing as many mental health services as we can for everybody in the schools. I think when you get into Other areas, you need to get parental consent. We have far more engagement of our parents in this district than the schools that have that in LA. And if our medical professionals, our mental health professionals, or our counselors think a referral is needed, provide the information to the families and get that referral. But I don't think we should be bringing a whole concept school like that together in our different schools.
Thank you so much. We're now transitioning to question number 7. Leading us off will be Tommy Lee Randall. And the question is as follows. The governing board is elected by the community to provide leadership and citizen oversight of the district. As a school board member, your role is to ensure that the district is responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. How would you handle a controversial issue where members of the community are at odds with the district and board decision?
First of all, I would be very, very active within the community. So hopefully I would hear about any situation or any circumstances that the parents might be concerned with. Once I'm aware of what the situation might be, then I would ask everyone to come together and let's sit down and talk and discuss the situation and the circumstances. Rational people can come up with a logical answer. And I think that many of the parents, they are concentrating on one thing. They want their children to be educated. The school board, the school governing board should be concentrating on pretty much one thing. How do we get our students educated and prepared to excel in this society? We can do that, but we have to have a conversation with the community. We have to have a conversation with the school, and we have to, as a governing board, make a decision based on the information that we have received from the students, from the parents, and just common sense.
Okay, next we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
I think that in order for there to be community and for Bonita Unified to be community, the purpose and the definition of that to me is the multiple facets of everybody who is a partner in this community. And I think that this is a very interesting question because I find us at this right now. If we were to say COVID and mask, you're going to get a varying amount of responses, of blood pressure levels, of anything. And I think that the real talent and requirement of the board is to listen, to communicate, to hear, to respect what people are here, what people say, what people's experiences, and take that along with the facts and make a decision based upon all of the information. It's not situations where I can bring in my own thoughts and beliefs. It's not me. It's not the board of Crystal Jones-Bacon. This is the Bonita Unified School Board, and it represents a multitude of people, and everybody's voices should be heard, should be respected, and should be listened to and taken into account before decisions are made, because we're not always going to make everybody happy.
Time's up. Thank you. Next we have Brittany Allison.
It's in this moment that you need someone who has experience building bridges and facilitating meaningful conversations. And as I said in my opening statement, this is really where I thrive. Back in 2016, there was the shooting of Philando Castile, Eric Gardner, and then there was the massacre on 5 Dallas police officers where 9 other officers were injured. And tensions were high. And me, my nonprofit organization, put together a truth and reconciliation program where we brought together concerned community members with local law enforcement agencies, 8 in the region. And I was the person who made that phone call to local law enforcement agencies, calling San Dimas Sheriff's Department, calling Laverne Police Department, and others locally, and asking, what are we doing? How can we help make sure that our city, our community does not become a tragic hashtag? And we put on a truth and reconciliation program that saw outcomes. We saw follow-up programs between Laverne Police Department and the University of Laverne, where they hosted a roundtable pizza party where the police department invited the Black Students Union to come and talk and learn and listen. And these are the dialogues that I have experienced moderating. We ended up hosting a second truth and reconciliation program at which the California Highway Patrol contacted us wanting to be involved in this dialogue as well. I think that we have the opportunity to listen to individuals and find what is our common goal, and it's our students.
Greg Pilato.
Well, my leadership style is all about relationships, making people feel heard. Every one of us has our own truth. What I believe is true to me might not be true to you because you have your own truth. And that needs to be respected for everybody. Our community is the ones that elect us, and their voices do need to be heard. I'm not stubborn. I'm a pretty humble guy. I could let new information change my thoughts. If I hear new data, if I hear new things, I'm not going to be stuck in my rut. I'm going to listen to what's going on, and I'll let that adjust what I think. But in essence, we can have groups, community groups, parents and teachers are working together with the district to make decisions. But our focus always needs to be on the kids. Every decision has to be what's best for our kids. It can't be one certain group is pushing for something because of a political thought. Everything we have to do is about the kids. And once we all step back and really look at how any decision affects our kids, we usually find a lot more common ground than we think.
Thank you. Joe Otto.
So I think it's important to remember, and I think we all agree here, that as a board member, or hopes soon to be a board member, we work for you. So everybody watching at home, the teachers, the classified staff, the community, we are volunteering for this position because we want to work alongside all of you. So if there's an issue where the community is just completely upset with the board decision, it's our responsibility as employees of yours to take a step back and see if that was the right decision to make. Now, just because some of the community may not agree with the decision the board makes doesn't mean that decision should be changed, but we all need to come to the table together. So let's say, for example, the board implemented XYZ policy and there's community uproar. We need to get the parties involved, have a sit down and discuss what went wrong. We need to hear both sides, and just because we decide on a policy today doesn't mean that we can't test it out and change it 2 weeks from now. We have to be open to changing and open to learning. I don't always make the right decision, and I probably make more wrong decisions than right sometimes, but when I do make a mistake, I learn from it and then I adapt. And as a district, we need to be able to do that, and we can't do that unless we foster that relationship with the community, with our employers, which is you guys.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
I believe in operating in a way where everyone feels informed, supported, and valued. Before a decision, during the decision making, and after the decision has been made. And so if a controversy arises afterwards, after that process happens as I described, the community can then work together because they will all, including us as a board, know why the decision was made. Sure, some people might not be happy with the decision, but they at least will know why it was made.
Thank you. Now we have Krista Chakmak.
Although the school board is made up of 5 members, the voices are made up of an entire community, including our unions, the BUSD and the CSEA. And I am so happy that our superintendent he makes it a priority to grow and maintain strong, transparent relationships with these unions. The voices I feel are heard from them, respected, and definitely taken into account when decisions are made. We also have a parent advisory committee that meets with our superintendent. I was a part of that committee prior to being on the board, and I think that they do a great job. It's made up of parents from all of our schools, and we also are very proactive with our surveys with this district. So, we are open ears. Everyone has our phone numbers and our emails and can contact us, and I think that the relationships are very important in these times when or all times when there's controversy going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Glenn Kryman.
Well, one of the nice things about being a school board member is if you make a wrong decision, you can correct it. Unlike my previous profession, there wasn't time to do that. But I think our board is very open to community questions. We've had people come, everything from the Chaya, and they wanted it completely outlawed, which obviously we couldn't do. It's state law. To wanting coaches fired because their children didn't get enough playing time, wanting grades changed. We listen to everyone. We will accept the input of any community, evaluate it against what the state requires of us, what Ed Code requires of us, and then make the decision that's based on the best for the most of our kids. We have to worry about our communities, but we're here for the kids. We have 10,000 kids that we're looking out for. And if this decision is maybe not good for 6, but it's good for the other 9,900 and change, that's a decision we have to make.
Thank you. Now, the last to answer this question is Dr. Afshin Mayer.
I believe everything is based on relationships, and in any situations and in any relationships, there's always something controversial. And the smart thing to do is to hear both sides and be neutral and hear them both and see what's the objection. And if there is, after that, you evaluate your decision, wise decision, and move forward from that. If there's a mistake on behalf of the school or board, admit to it and correct it. And everybody makes mistake, but hey, the ones that they're successful, they're one that they learn from the mistakes and they move on. Though, and I think mutual respect is the key, and bringing communities together is that collaboration and pretty much merging the relationships and pretty much moving forward from mistakes and try to make things better for future, especially our kids, because this is all about our kids though, and that's what they deserve the least.
Thank you. Now we're going to transition to question number 8. Leading us off on this question will be Crystal Jones-Bacon. And we're going to continue the community relations theme. And the question is, beyond the board meetings, how will you be accessible to the community? And what would you do if you received a parent complaint about a curriculum or special education or mental health matter, or even a complaint about a school principal, teacher, or staff?
So accessibility, I understand accessibility is very, very, very important. I work in a profession where everything is accessibility. Emails, phone calls, Teams, Skype. I think that as a board, we need to be readily available to our community, its constituents, and especially in situations where there are complaints and concerns. In the event that a concern did arise, as a board member, I would feel that my responsibility is to listen, and to listen first. Listen 3 times before I even speak, because when there's a complaint in the community, it's a parent who is complaining about a concern regarding their child, and that needs to be recognized, it needs to be heard, and from there I would take that to the board in order to discuss it and move forward. I can speak for myself that as a parent, you know, when I email a school, a district, a teacher, a principal, I want to know that my email is more than just a number or is more than just a part of their job. I want to know that my concern is important to them because this is something that is regarding my child. And I think that that's very important. There needs to be standards as to you're available between XYZ hours during the day, and you can expect an email back within so much time.
Time's up. Thank you. Brittany Allison.
To answer the accessibility point, as a student in high school, in college, and then also as a teacher, I was the over-energetic, involved person, right? Theater, sports, RHA. When I was a teacher, I managed the clubs. As a board member, I would be super stoked to be at all the plays and sporting events, and I know my 4-year-old would be in tow, smile at hand. So I plan to be there. As far as a parent complaint, I think that there's two things. One, you certainly respect the chain of command. Oftentimes complaints should be initially directed towards the on-site principal or whoever is best to oversee and supervise the resolution. But I also would seek to be the advocate and the person that is willing to follow up to ensure that resolution was met. Oftentimes the resolution is gaining understanding, is having that conversation, and so I would be there to make sure that that happens, to hope that both parties are met with understanding and leave feeling resolved.
Thank you. Greg Pilato.
For accessibility, I'm probably the most accessible person I know. I get messages all day in all mediums, text, phone, my email, Facebook, and I usually answer within the next 10, 15 minutes, so I'm pretty accessible. I'm out there in the community. Before COVID, you'll find me at the Verde Little League or the Girls Softball Association every night, late at night. I am in Mason groups, I'm in our Rotary, I'm just all over town. But for talking about a complaint about a staff or curriculum, first, there's different reasons why they're going to email or get in touch with the board. Sometimes they just need someone to talk to. We want to listen and clarify, see what it is they really want. In my own district, I have contacted the board often. Sometimes I just need it to vent, and sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes there is a concern about curriculum or an administrator. We want to make sure that's handled at the lowest level. If there's something about concern, I would love to direct them towards, I think, more appropriate with an administrator at the school. If it's about the administrator at the school, I would look at our superintendent to take care of those needs. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Joe Otto.
So as far as accessibility, that's easy for me. I own my own business in San Dimas, and before I decided to run, I spoke with my staff in the office, and by staff I mean there's 2 other people. We're a small company, and I made sure that they knew that if I was to be elected, I would have outside responsibilities. Being on the PTA board as a historian, it's my job to go take pictures. Not too many things to take pictures of this year, unfortunately, but the idea is that I'm available basically 24/7. People have reached out to me on Facebook and other venues have noticed that I'll respond to an email at midnight. I don't sleep at all, so that's going to be pretty easy for me. I enjoy this. If I'm not spending time with my daughter, I'm not at work. I'm working on this campaign because I thoroughly enjoy going back and forth, answering these questions, and just being a part of the community. That's ultimately all. That's what I want. I want to be more involved, and this is a perfect outlet for that. As far as issues with people bringing up questions, from my understanding, I know there was an issue with local government where different politicians weren't answering emails or weren't even letting you know that they got your email. So that's the easiest thing we can do. If you send me an email or a Facebook message, if I can't respond to you right then and there, I'm going to respond and say, hey, I got your message, I'm thinking about it, I don't have time to respond, I'll get back to you by tomorrow by blank time. That's the easiest thing we can do. And then as Brittany said, chain of command is important. I'm going to find the right solution to your question. So maybe your question needs to be addressed by the board. Maybe your question needs to be directed at the softball coach, but I will make sure I find the right direction.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
Okay, this is a good question. Yes, I will be accessible. Second of all, in the past I've served on the USC Student Concerns Committee and handled many very difficult situations. So when something is brought to me, I'm going to listen. I'm going to do my best to get the full information, the full story, and sometimes you just have to let someone talk. You just have to listen. And then I will decide how much of an immediate need is it. Is it something that where I have to immediately refer them to someone else? Or is it something that I can then thank them for the information and then decide who to share it with, who to possibly meet with, decide if it's something I need to report depending on what the situation was. And then once we have a chance to meet and discuss it with the relevant people, or I allow other people to meet and then find out what their resolve is, I can then follow up or decide who will. But there's a process, and there's a reason for why there's a process, and as much as possible, I would explain that to the person once I had a chance to fully hear them out.
Thank you. Next we have Krista Chankmack.
Can you ask the question one more time, please?
Absolutely. So beyond the board meetings, how will you be accessible to the community? And what would you do if you received a parent complaint about curriculum or special education or mental health matter, or even a complaint about a school principal, teacher, or staff?
As far as accessibility, I am a very active part of our community. In fact, probably if you're in this community, you know where I live. So if you can't, you can knock on my door. But as far as complaints, I am an open ear. I'm always ready to listen to the voices in our community. We're very fortunate to have a leadership in this district that is strong and very accessible. From our principals to our superintendent and everyone in between, there is always a solution that can be found, and they're able to help us in any way that we can. So if I don't know the right person, I would follow, I would speak to Carl Goals, and he is an open book, and help the parent however I can.
Thank you. Next we have Glenn Cartman.
When I was first elected, I was accessible while I was working full-time. Now I'm retired. I'm on sites all the time, talking to staff, talking to students, talking to parents, going to events. When it comes to complaints, I think Crystal said it, the most important thing is to listen. You need to listen to what the person has to say. And then point them where they need to go. If it's a teacher complaint, send it to the principal. If it's a site complaint, to the district office somewhere. And make sure they understand if you're not getting a response or your issue solved, then come back to me and I'll find the next person to do that. And they may walk all the way up the ladder from principal to the board. The important thing is, as a board member, not to jump in and try to solve it when it can be solved at a much lower level. And I think the really most important thing is to keep following up with the people and see, did they get a resolution to it? They may not be able to, but if they understand that that's the best that can happen, then we've done the best for both of them.
Thank you. Dr. Afshin Mayer.
Well, I'm fortunate to live here and work here, and everybody knows where I am, though, I guess, why not? And through my work, my job as a doctor is to listen to people, to listen to the people's subjectives. And that's why patients come to my office, though. So nothing that I'm not used to. So after taking the history and knowing what the problem could be, then you evaluate the issue, though. So you got to listen to people, you got to hear them out, and then You got to come up with the diagnosis. You got to come up with the solution. And that's what people really, I see most want to hear, though. That they have concern, you listen to them, and you address it right. Can I treat all the patients that they come to my office? Probably not. And that's why I refer those patients out, though. Same thing with the board, though. So if I don't know the aspect of the issue, then I'll find an appropriate person that's pretty much specialized in that to handle that. And also, just like as a doctor, you follow up with your patients. You follow up, you make sure that they've been here and they receive their kind of concern has been addressed. And that's what I would do.
Thank you. And last to answer this question is Tommy Lee Randall.
We have to listen to and address all complaints. One person can never solve a problem. It takes both parties. They have to listen to each other, they have to talk to each other, and they have to reach a mutual understanding. Typical example, as a state parks and recreation commissioner, I'm responsible for 280 state parks. I had a customer, one guy, he gave me a call and said, Tommy, the restrooms are filthy and the parking is not fair. And so I got in my car. I'm retired also. I got in my car, I drove up to Huntington Beach, and the complaints that were lodged, they were legitimate. I got on the telephone the same day, and I left a message for the director of Parks and Recreation. She gave me a call the next morning and said, Tom said, you sounded kind of upset. I said, no, I wasn't upset. I was just in a hurry to get an answer back to a person. And what happened, what transpired from that transaction is that we had a crew out there cleaning up the bathrooms, and we had installed, we installed, I guess you could say, things that would let people go to the park.
Time's up. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to be going to question number 9. And leading us off on number 9 is Brittany Allison. But before we go to that question, just 2 comments. First off, as mentioned earlier, the district has over 1,100 employees. And tonight is made possible because of 2 great all-star district employees that are helping us through the technology piece of this forum. And I just wanted to do a shout out to Bob Schultz, who's a district electrician, and Chris Burton, who's with the CIS department. So, and also, I did make a mention of this at the first part of the meeting, but prior to this forum, all 9 candidates answered a questionnaire that had 9 questions. Knowing that we're not going to get through all of the community questions that we received, we did want to ask 9 general questions to all the candidates. So if you're not a member of Laverne or LV3C and you're a Laverne resident, I encourage you to join today, tonight, or tomorrow so that you have access to this great questionnaire and all of the other advocacy that the group does for the city. But if you're a San Dimas resident or not going to be a member of the group, please feel free to email me and request a link to the questionnaire. Again, my email address is mtlyons921@gmail.com. Now we're going to go to question number 9. And again, that is going to be started off by Brittany Allison. And because the superintendent is the only district employee that is directly selected by the school board, and the fact that the superintendent provides the leadership and shapes the culture and environment of the district, that is why we're asking this specific question to all of the board candidates tonight. As a school board candidate, you have been hearing the concerns, thoughts, and suggestions of parents, teachers, staff, administrators, and community members. As of today, do you feel the superintendent and the district leadership are meeting the current needs of the district and the community that it serves? And where can we improve?
So current needs are challenging across the entire state, right? So if you're talking about that, that everyone's working together to make this the best. I have heard great things about our district from teachers and parents alike. One of the opportunities that has been brought to my attention for improvement has been improving communication, improving collaboration, and improving elevating the voices that may differ than the prominent voice. These are all three things that I think that I can support with my advocacy, my character, and my skills. But I would say that those are three valuable things to continue to pursue in our district and with our superintendent's office.
Thank you. Next answer is Greg Pilato.
Personally, I believe Mr. Krols is doing a great job myself. I prefer stability in our upper management, and I think we have a great culture in Bonita as it is, with the staff, with people under him. It's one big family. This is shown, and this is why teachers are so happy here, which makes our kids do so great. So personally, I look forward to working with him if I get a chance. He also has a special ed background, which resonates with me, and I believe that, there's not much more to say. I'm just excited about the chance to work with him.
Thank you. Next we have Joe Otto.
Okay. So, running a campaign, we get a lot of feedback and a lot of this negative from the community, things that people want to be addressed. I've had nothing but positive feedback about Carl Coles. The interactions I've had with him have been amazing. And I know for a fact he called each of us today just to wish us best of luck, and just, he wasn't doing it just because he had to. You could hear in his voice he actually cared about the process tonight, and he cared about what we were doing. And I was up to my ears in trying to study to prepare for today, and getting that reassuring phone call that he didn't have to do that, and that it meant a lot. And if he is treating our district and treating our teachers and our kids, in that manner, then I think we've got a great superintendent at the head of the ship right now. There's always areas for improvement, and this is something where, beyond the things that we've mentioned today, I can't answer clearly because I haven't been on the board yet. I know there's a lot of issues that they take, that they address, on each of their meetings. I do know we can improve, and I'm looking forward to being part of that improvement.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Mattson.
First of all, I'm not sure if it's been known, but Dr. Coles has been meeting every 2 to 3 weeks with us for the last month or so, and those meetings have been very helpful and informative. And as for, is the superintendent in the district doing a good job right now? Yes, we're doing the best with what we've been given. What can we do better? We're going to continue to start moving into uncharted water, and I would like and hope that we continue to inform, support, and value community feedback, teacher feedback, staff feedback. Everyone, as much as possible, should start talking and communication and having chances to do so as we go into this uncharted territory.
Thank you. Next we have Krista Chapman.
I'm sorry to do this to you again, Matt, but can you please, I want to make sure that my answers fit the questions.
No, absolutely. So as a school board candidate, you have been hearing the concerns, thoughts, and suggestions of parents, teachers, staff, administrators, and community members. As of today, do you feel the superintendent is meeting the current needs of the district, and where can we improve?
I absolutely feel that our superintendent is meeting these needs, as his #1 priority is people first. And that is the most important thing right now when we're looking at these times. The safety of all of our teachers, staff, children and parents. So he's absolutely doing a great job of managing that. And what was the other? I'm sorry. What was the other?
Where can we improve?
Oh, where can we improve? There's always room for improvement. It's a business of people, so constantly learning and growing. And if we're speaking of Carl Coles, he truly is constantly looking on how we can make improvements in our district, and is at a forefront of bringing new options to the board and to our parents, teachers, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Glenn Kryman.
Well, not only is Carl meeting our needs, he's one of the better superintendents in the San Gabriel Valley. And he's new. He's only been at it 3 or 4 years. He's approaching the level of what we saw with Dr. Rapkin, who had been superintendent for decades when he came to us. And that's why the trajectory of our district is nothing but going up. Our scores are going up, employee happiness is going up, everything is better. Can we improve? We can always improve. If we're not improving, we're not growing. We can improve our communications. We can improve our technology. We can improve our test scores. We can improve our amount of kids we have enrolled. But a lot of those things take money that we don't really have. So he's working with everything he's got, not only keeping us afloat through all this, but I think as a district we're actually growing and thriving where a lot of places are not.
Thank you. Next we have Dr. Ashton Mayer.
So as being part of Laverne Chamber of Commerce on a board years ago, we always were in collaboration and contact with the superintendent in Bonita schools. And at a period of time, we had some issues with this position, and that raised a level of concern for me. And but since Carl has been pointed to this, and interactions and communication that I have had with him through this campaign, and as Joe said, it meant a lot to me when he called me today to wish me good luck. That's just class. That's just pretty much shows the level of concerns that he has for this community and us as a board member and as a whole. And I'll be delighted and honored to work along with our amazing board to lead the way with him as a superintendent.
Thank you. Next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
Everyone that I have spoken to, and I have spoken to quite a few people, I have spoken to students, I have spoken to parents, and I have spoken to, just a lot of people, in the area. And they have told me that Carl is doing a fantastic job. However, even though someone might be doing a fantastic job, there's always an improvement that can be made. Nothing is perfect. So yes, I don't know exactly, what areas, we might be looking in. I've heard them addressed, and we would have to take a look at that. And whatever things that can be, improved upon, we would go to work and we would get it improved.
Thank you. And last to answer this question is Crystal Jones-Bacon.
I think that Carl Coles is an amazing superintendent. As Christopher had mentioned, we've had bi-weekly calls or monthly calls with him that have just been so informative. And in speaking with him, you can ask any question and he's open to answer it, whether it's favorable or not. And I think that takes a certain amount of ownership over your district, ownership of things that you are amazing at, while also taking ownership of knowing that, hey, maybe this is not where we want it to be. This is our goal. And I think that Carl Coles embodies and sets the tone for the district to not settle. And I think that that is one of the big things that the district overall would really, really benefit from, just not settling. And we need to always preserve the culture and the memories and the history of our community and of our district, but we also always need to ensure that we are not just going forward in a trajectory, but going forward in the best trajectory for our schools.
Thank you so much. So I think the consensus is that we have an A+ superintendent, and that wraps up that question. And thankfully, like many of you, Carl checked in on me as the moderator of this, and he just wanted to make sure that it wasn't as rowdy and disorganized as a forum earlier this week, because he knew the crowd that I was dealing with. So I felt comforted by his support. So I want to thank all of you for adhering to the time limits so far. We are now at question number 10, and leading us off is Greg Pilato. This is going to be our second rapid response question. So you have 30 seconds to respond. The organizing committee would appreciate a yes or no if you can, but it is short answer and you have 30 seconds. So again, starting it off is Greg, and the question is, as a board member, would you consider cutting funding to the BUSD school resource officer or on-campus police and reallocate funding to other student needs?
Short answer, no. I moved to Laverne 2 years ago for 2 reasons. One is for how great our school district is. The other is for how safe our community is. I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. I have many friends in the field. I got neighbors up the block who are retired cops. I think I'm also the only candidate endorsed by the LA County Professional Peace Officers Association. I love our partnerships with LVPD, with our sheriff department. I'm in favor of SROs at all the secondary sites. I, as a school site, work with my SRO, and sometimes it's absolutely necessary to get them there on site.
Thank you. Next we have Joe Otto.
This is the easiest question that we've gotten so far. Without a doubt, I would make sure that we keep funding the SROs, back law enforcement, and I think having those SROs on campus makes us safer, and it's a great example to the kids to see them, on campus and keeping them safe. So heck yeah, we keep them and keep them funded.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Matson.
For anyone who might ask me this, my question back to them would be, why? Tell me more. I mean, maybe they have some more information that they want to share, and maybe there's an underlying reason, but that's not what this question is right now, so my answer is no. But I would want to know why.
Thank you. Next we have Krista Chapnick.
If I could increase the funding to add an SRO to every school, I absolutely would. Having the SRO on campus offers a unique and lasting impression on our children and allows for safety, a relationship that could majorly impact our children's future. I also support the Laverne Canine Foundation, which is fundamental in LVPD moving forward with the Canine Division. That is also an important part of our school community.
Time's up. Thank you. Next we have Glenn Kryman.
Absolutely not. I was a firefighter for 35 and a half years. I worked hand in hand with police every day. And our SROs do more than just provide safety. They're an extra set of eyes. They're an extra counselor, if you will, on campus. A lot of kids talk to them about things they don't want to talk to other adults about. And they've cut off and prevented more things than have happened and solved the things that have happened. So absolutely not.
Thank you. Next we have Dr. Blair.
I guess everybody answered the question, and same thing, no. And as part of our duty as a board is to recognize that students and staff have the right to be safe and secure at the campus. And I appreciate all the police officers as well, our SROs, who are serving and protecting us.
Thank you. Next we have Tommy Lee Randall.
SROs will be funded.
Thank you. Crystal Jones Bacon.
Absolutely not. As a parent of high schoolers who I have gotten in 3 years, I think I've had 2 calls of my daughter locking down in a classroom and of, the rooms being swept by our local SWAT teams. Absolutely not. Our children's safety is the utmost important and I believe that that's the reason that we're all here. So, no.
Thank you. And then last to answer this rapid response question is Brittany Allison.
No curveballs here, absolutely not. The only reason this is even a question is because there are districts across the nation, some districts, that have multiple officers and no mental health professionals, and 4th and 3rd graders are getting arrested. That's not happening here. It need not be a conversation here. Absolutely not.
Thanks so much. So we're going to transition to question number 11. And the first to answer question 11 is Joe Otto. And the question is, the core values of the district are equity, mastery, and focus on results. What role does equity, inclusion, and diversity play in forming your point of view as a board member?
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're all different. And as a district, we have to look at each individual student, each teacher, each classified employee as a unique individual. So as a future board member, I plan to make decisions that benefit everyone. I won't make decisions based on basically anything that could differentiate people as far as this person looks this way, this person has this belief, this ideology. None of that matters. What matters is that we're taking care of our kids, our teachers, and our staff.
Thank you. Next we have Christopher Eric Madsen.
First of all, I want to say I'm happy that the district has an equity team now, and I'm really curious and looking forward to see what they end up doing. Regarding equity, it's not just a funding issue, it's not just a curriculum issue, it's a culture issue. And I'm really interested in seeing what our district does to examine and promote an improved culture, because it's something we can all work at, and especially now where high school students are feeling more lonely than ever, and when you add in microaggressions and all kinds of other things that are happening, it's even worse. So it's just a matter of how we can come together to handle equity and treat each other fairly, whether that is creating new opportunities. I'm really just curious to see what the equity team will handle and come up with, without putting too much pressure on the students involved to create and do the teaching.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Krista Chakmak.
My focus as a board member now and going forward is the equity for all 10,000 children. Period, whatever they need. I'm very proud to be currently on the board, and we were able to discuss putting in the equity committee going forward and being supportive of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that committee progresses into and working with them. Thank you.
Next we have Glenn Kryman.
I think the fact that we created an equity committee says a lot. One, that we realized we needed it and we're willing to do something about it. But I think in addition to considering the equity, they also have to look at quality. Because equity tends to be giving people different things to meet their needs, whether it's more instruction, specialized instruction, extra time. when we look at the equality too, we need to make sure that everyone has access to everything they want to do. What sports they want to play, if they want to form a club, join a club, that everyone has an equal chance to participate in the entire school life, not just their educational things. So I think we're doing a good job at it. We have a long ways to go because it's brand new to us. We're still forming this committee. They're still looking for the direction. So I'd encourage everyone here and listening, if you have something you think they need to look into, send it into the district and let us all work together to make the equity and the equality for everyone in our district.
Thank you. Next we have Dr. Mayer.
Well, I'm going to go to myself. I'm pretty much an immigrant who pretty much came into Canada when I was 14, 15 and had to deal with the new culture, new language, and all that though. And it's been pretty much as far as, it's been a journey, and I think everybody has the right to make the best for themselves with what's available. And we should have the options and availability for all. And I've been blessed to go through this process. I'm blessed to be sitting here now, and I want to represent our children and our students with equity. And I think we're doing a great job as being a foreigner or non-American, which I'm so proud of it. And moving forward, I think we just have to create more options and listen and provide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm just going to repeat the question for the benefit of the second half of the candidates. Again, the question is, what role does equity, inclusion, and diversity play in forming your point of view as a board member? And the next is Tommy Lee Randall.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. As a matter of fact, I chair an ad hoc committee for the State Parks and Recreation Department on diversity. And what we do is we take a look at the students that do not have transportation to or from the parks, and we create a transportation system so that they can come to the parks. We have some students that have never been to some of our state parks, and it's not because they don't want to come, it's because they don't have the means that are necessary. So it's up to us as board members to make sure that these students that need to have these programs implemented, that we implement them for them. That is a goal that we should have as a board member here at Medina.
Thank you. Now we have Crystal Jones-Bacon.
So first off, as a biracial woman of color, I actually commend our district for hearing the needs and the calls of our students in the community and creating an equity board. As a parent of a child who's serving on this equity board, it warms my heart and it's enlightening and it gives me so much hope for the future, just to see the involvement of both our youth in advocating for themselves and also in the fact that it's comprised of so many different levels within the district. I feel that equity and diversity are so often looked at as just race, but it includes so much more than that. We have to include and ensure that we are making our school sites diverse and welcome for everybody, whether it's somebody who has an impairment, whether it's somebody who identifies a different way, because diversity is really the spice of life, right? If everybody was gray, it would be kind of boring. But I think that we need to recognize this, and as a person who is running for this school board, I think that I bring a very unique perspective to this, because I am a biracial woman of color. I've lived in multiple communities, surrounded by multiple races, multiple income levels, and I think that that provides a lot.
Time's up. Thank you. Brittany Allison.
Thank you. It's certainly a value of mine that the Equity Committee is proactive and data-driven and does not become simply responsive or performative. To me, equity means that I view percentages as people, and that it is of value to cultivate a culture of inclusion. And as Crystal said, that includes neurodivergence, that includes racial and cultural differences, that includes socioeconomic disparities. And if we're looking at a given policy or program or circumstance, and it impacts a small percentage of students negatively, that small percentage matters, right? Because those students matter to me. And that will inform the way that I approach the board.
Thank you. And then last to answer this question is Greg Pilato.
So everyone needs to feel welcome in our schools. It doesn't matter what you're coming from, left, right, gay, straight, your background. But equity and equality, it could be more than equal access. Some need a little bit more. Our special ed students, our 504 students, they need accommodations just to level the playing field so they can be successful. Students in foster care, we have a big population in our district. They need some other interventions to make sure that they meet the standard. I don't believe we need to lower a standard. I think we can do more to help kids